why consider the International Court of Justice? Why consider going to court now with respect to the Guatemalan claim over Belize? First of all, we need to look at what the United Nations provides. People normally say, let's go to the United Nations when we refer to the Guatemalan claim. So we need to look at what the United Nations has to say about these things. To begin with, the United Nations international law provides that whenever countries have disputes, they need to take all measures to resolve them peacefully. That's in rule number 1. Resolve your disputes peacefully. Doesn't mean that there's no war and there's no fighting between countries. If you watch news every evening, there's a lot of those things. But we are obligated to resolve our disputes peacefully. And the United Nations Charter provides a menu of options of what countries should do to resolve those differences. In Article 33, it refers to negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, judicial settlement, resort to regional agencies or other arrangements or other peaceful means of their own choice. Peaceful means to resolve disputes. And of all of them, we have tried them all, except the legal option. That is arbitration or judicial settlement. That is going to court. Everything else we have tried. So if we go to the United Nations, they will ask us, have you tried these things? And we'll say, yes, we've tried negotiation. Yes, we've tried mediation. Yes, we've tried conciliation, and the rest of them. And then they'll say, well, some people say we should go to the Security Council. But the same United Nations says at the bottom here in the same paragraph, it said the Security Council shall, when it deems necessary, call upon the parties to settle their disputes by such means. By what means? By these other peaceful means: negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, etc. But people insist we need to go to the Security Council. Well, even the same chapter provides that the Security Council, when it's making considerations about disputes in the world, they need to take into account that legal disputes should, as a general rule, be referred to by the parties to the International Court of Justice. So they will ask us first, have you done this, have you done that? And we'll say, yes, 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 we're ticking all the boxes, except we have not gone to court. So people will say, well, why hadn't we tried going to court before? Why drop it on us till now? The truth is, it's not a new idea, and we'll go into that shortly. But the problem we have with Guatemala has to be tried in many ways to be resolved. And our options, in summary, you can have a whole long list of 100 things, but in summary, these are the categories they fall into. We can do nothing, we can pretend we have no problem with Guatemala. Some say it's an Anglo-Guatemalan dispute. They say Anglo means British. That means, it doesn't mean Belize, so it's a British and Guatemalan problem, not a Belize problem. That's what some people say. The problem with that is that Great Britain is not the neighbor of Guatemala. Belize is a neighbor of Guatemala. We have the problems with them daily. So when governments in the past have tried to ignore the problem, we always have disputes. Something happens along the border, then we have to go back to deal with it. More negotiation. Some say we need to continue negotiating with Guatemala. Well, we know what Guatemala wants. They have always wanted land. They wanted territory. And no Belizean government will ever give Guatemala any territory. We have the songs that say not a blade of grass and not a drop of water. So no Belizean government will give anything to Guatemala. So what is there to negotiate? And that is why the negotiations over the years have failed. Decades of negotiations have failed because Guatemala wants land and we will never give them any land. But we can continue negotiating. It doesn't mean that we can't. We can continue. But we know what will be the end result. Continue trying other ways to get Guatemala to respect our border. We can continue trying other ways. Some say, let's go to the international community and get international support. We have been doing that since the 1960s and 70s. Principally the whole internationalization campaign that started in 1972 and in 1975. We got your resolutions of the United Nations General Assembly supporting our right to independence and territorial integrity. And that continues until today. Some say, let's put more BDF along the border. We can do that too. But none of those things will resolve the problem of the Guatemala claim. The next option is to go to court. And really, the option of going to court is not new. The first time the problems of the Guatemala claim arose in 1937, the British told them, let's go to court. And for 20 years, from 1937 to 1956, 20 years, the British told them, let's go to court. And Guatemala said, no, we will not go to court on the basis of law because the law does not support us. That's in effect their thinking. And because they refused to go to court, we had to try all other kind of ways to settle the dispute. So we have the letters from the foreign ministers of Great Britain at the time when they said, let's go to court because it's the only way we will solve the problem. But because Guatemala refused, we had to start doing all other kind of things. Negotiation, mediation, conciliation, and the rest of it. And all of them failed. 56 years of trying everything. From 1962 to today, we have tried everything in the books. Yeah? And we have a whole long list of failed attempts. A gentleman wrote in the Amandala the last time, listing 200 negotiations that we've held with Guatemala. None of them yielded any results. We've had military threats along the way. In 1948 was the first time Guatemala said they'll invade and take over the territory. And some of us who have lived long enough will remember, especially here in Benque, when they had threats that the military was coming from the other side. And we still continue having military difficulties, especially like in the Sarstoon. We hear it in the news all the time. Yeah? Thank goodness it hasn't gotten worse than it is, but we have problems. So we have had talks and talks and talks and a lot of talks, and none of them had yielded any fruit. Now, in the meantime, what has been happening? While we have been talking and while we have been trying all other kind of things, lots of things have been happening. When we got independence in 1981, the population of Belize, in red, was larger than the population of Belize, of Petén. Petén, our next door neighbor in Guatemala. We had a bigger population than Petén. But today, Petén's population has doubled. We have less than half the population of Petén. There's a population explosion right across the border. And it's not only Petén, it's also Izabal. Izabal has a higher population than ours and it's continue growing faster. Petén is in yellow here, Izabal in green, and Belize in red. We are growing in population, but not as fast as them. They are growing in leaps and bounds. Population explosion. We have to consider that because they keep coming on this side. Next thing is, we have problem in the Sarstoon. I don't need to tell you about it because you hear about it so much in the news. But what most people don't know is that the problems in the Sarstoon don't happen only when you hear it on Channel 5 or Channel 7 or Love. It happens all the time. So we have problems all over the place. We have problems when our Belizeans go there and we keep getting confrontations. On the western border, we have all of these problems. Gold panning, they come and thief the gold. They take all our wildlife. They take the chatés. They take the logwood. Multi-million-dollar business. Some say we're not losing anything, but every day we're losing. Every year we're losing millions of dollars. Some say now we need to put more military on the ground. We have been putting a lot of observation posts, conservation posts. So it's not that the government has not been doing those things. We have been putting boots on the ground. And we will keep doing more because more needs to be done. But it's not that will solve the problem. The more BDF we put, that won't solve the problem. Yeah? Some say international support. We have international support from all of those regional organizations, Africa, Caribbean, Pacific, Commonwealth, and CARICOM, and so forth. So we have that. So what now? Well, what now is that Guatemala has finally agreed to settle this thing in the court. Something that we asked them to do from the 1930s. Today, they have finally said, yes, we'll go to court. And whatever the court decides, we will abide by. That's what the Guatemalan people said in their referendum last April. They have also said that we will demarcate the border fully, completely, according to what the court decides. Something that has never been done jointly. The whole border will be marked. So when the people come across and they say, well, I don't know where the border is, they won't have that excuse anymore. So that is what we have agreed. And what will we do? We have to decide next April. We have to decide if we want to just ignore the problem, do nothing. We have to decide if we want to continue negotiate. We have to decide if we want to continue other kind of things to solve the problem, or we can decide, let's settle this thing in the court once and for all, something we have never tried. That is a decision Belizeans will have to make next year. Thank you so very much.
Be informed. Visit our website or social media pages.